welcome to Sideline to Sideline NFL Edition. I'm your host, Brandon, with my co-host here,
Taylor
Roberts.
What's going on?
What's going on, Taylor? It's been, last time it was 2 weeks before we did our original show for College Edition, but it's been almost 3 weeks since we've done an NFL edition because we forgot to do the NFL edition prior to leaving for the holiday.
So things were getting busy.
Yeah. We do apologize, everyone. I know the NFL edition is a fan favorite, a.k.a. my father. So,
number one fan.
We'll get right into it. If I can talk, guys, we're a little rusty. I apologize. We're gonna start off with the Jags. They're the number one pick in the upcoming NFL draft. They're locked and loaded. They play the Colts this upcoming weekend. I will be at that game. We're going to get right into it. There are two names, Taylor. Two names. Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon. Both defensive ends. Both projected to go to the Jags. We'll pull up their stats here. But who do you think that the Jaguars should go with the first pick?
If we're going strictly off of stats, we're looking at Aiden going as the number one draft in this upcoming draft. If we're going off of explosiveness, I would have to go with Kayvon Thibodeaux. Honestly, I think he's a little bit more explosive, got a little more power. But I think Aiden's going to take that number one draft pick, honestly.
Yeah.
We're looking at, I think, 35 solo tackles, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 0 interceptions for Kayvon. And then Aiden's got 36 solo sacks, 14 sacks, 2 forced field goal or fumbles, and 0 interceptions. Pretty similar looking stat line for both of them. So it's not going to be like a huge loss for either.
Yeah.
Or if the Jags pick either. But I think Aiden's going to take it.
Yeah, I would agree that Aiden will probably be the pick. I think that Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon is a lean prospect at defensive end. I think he can kind of get bullied. He has that one move, which is a speed rush. He's really quick off the defensive line there, line of scrimmage. But only having one move in the NFL will prove to be detrimental.
That's true. Yeah, if you're a one tool type of guy, you're only going to be able to get a couple of jobs done. So you're going to need to reach into that tool bag and start utilizing them a little more.
I think, and I would agree with you. I think Aiden's a little more all-around, well-rounded player. He does have one more season underneath him. He played from 2018 to now, while Kayvon Thibodeaux, his freshman season was 2019. And he's coming out early. My only issue with Aiden Hutchinson, and we talked about it last episode, or actually literally on the College Edition episode a couple days ago, make sure you check that out, is he might be slightly overrated. We watched the Georgia game. Georgia is an SEC team. They have NFL caliber offensive linemen, and he kind of got bullied here and there. Does it concern me? Slightly. It's not something you want to see coming from your first pick, and not only first pick in the draft, but like first round pick, but first pick in the draft. And then, to be honest, I think there are holes the Jaguars probably need to fill more than the defensive end position.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe some offensive line help for a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Some receiver helps. Right now, their number one receiver is Laquan Treadwell, but there's not really a receiver in this draft that I'm like, oh, I want that person to go number one overall. And historically, you go with the best. Unless you need a quarterback, you go with the best available player. So I think that's why they go with Aiden Hutchinson. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are on him about the Georgia game. We talked about it a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they would definitely be foolish to let either of these guys drop below the first round. So, I mean, they definitely have to snag one of them. Yeah. They do need a lot of help. They need skill position players. They need offensive line, defensive line. They need it all. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was a good start, but as you can see, he can't do it all by himself. So they definitely need some help, but I think this is a good start. I don't think there's too many, like you said, there's not too many wide receivers out there that are like, yeah, that's the guy that's going to change this program around. So I think going with a defensive player this early and this, like right now, first round, number one pick. I don't think it's a stupid move, and I think they will go with Aiden. There's plenty of players out there that'll fall. They'll be able to pick up the pieces that they need. So I think Aiden would be the best pick for them.
I would agree. The only thing that concerns me, right? I don't know if you remember, we got the Vernon Golston scenario. I can't remember the other defensive end that went kind of in that top 4 that year with Vernon Golston, who ended up going to I believe Tampa Bay. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he was a bust, and the other defensive end was a bust, and they're supposed to be just like Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeaux, generational talents, game changers, and then they didn't pan out, and there were a bunch of players in those drafts, prospective drafts, that probably could have been better picks. But I think that's a risk at any pick in the first round that
absolutely. that is the
risk.
biggest risk is taking somebody at that number one spot, because the moment you're drafted number one, that spotlight is on you throughout your whole career. Mm-hmm. It is former number one draft pick, former whatever, that is on you 24/7. So you're held to a higher standard. So while it is a pretty glorious spot to be in as a player, like, yeah, I got drafted number one. Yeah. Well, good luck, bud, because mid talent and average talent ain't going to cut it. You're the number one draft pick, and you better come out and you better be explosive and be able to turn that program around.
Yeah. So, just continuing on the number one pick, again, we both think it's Aiden Hutchinson, the logical pick here over Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think Aiden also played harder competition. But with that, just to highlight, that number one pick in the draft, that first pick that just sets the tone, right? Last year was Trevor Lawrence, and I think that's why, Justin Fields hasn't been playing great, but he wasn't the first pick in the draft. Trevor Lawrence was, and so it's kind of, like you said, for his entire career, it blows you up. You look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff was the first pick. Baker Mayfield, we'll talk about him actually later in the show. But Jared Goff, we'll just out there, right? We'll kind of sidetrack here. Just a general question, then we'll move on back on track. If Jared Goff was selected 15th overall, do you think he'd face as much scrutiny than when he was picked first overall in the draft?
Not at all. No. I think the level of hate he's getting is coincidentally associated with him being drafted number one overall. I mean, the Rams put all their chips into him when they drafted him. Granted, he had probably the worst coach for a quarterback ever in Jeff Fisher. Yeah. So I won't fault him too much, but I will say that being drafted number one put a lot of weight on his shoulders. Yeah. It's hard to carry, especially when you're a young kid and you got all this, newfound attention coming your way. Yeah. I really think it bogged him down, and everybody's looking at him as a first round number one draft pick. And it's not like, oh, he got drafted in the second round or something like that. It was like, no, he was the number one. He's playing like he should have been drafted in the third round. Yeah. If he got drafted in the second or third round, people would be like, this is what we expected from him. He's a good quarterback to go out there and sometimes get the job done. But, we're not expecting him to go out and win every single game. Being drafted number one, that's the expectation, is you're supposed to elevate your team to that level to where you can go out there and dominate day in and day out.
And to just relate the two, again, we talked about Trevor Lawrence being the number one overall pick, and that's why the expectations are so high on Trevor Lawrence. I know there's some people who are calling him a bust already. There's some people who are like, well, now it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, and you got to remember, the Jaguars, they have nobody. Yeah, honestly, and I'm not trying to shame the Jaguars because I'm sitting here, they're over there making millions, but they don't have anybody. Jared Goff was drafted into a team that was full of talent. They had the defense where it needed to be. The offense was where it was needed to be at. And then you thought you got the best quarterback in that draft. Yeah. Thought you're going to be able to plug him in, and it was going to be a Super Bowl championship team. Yeah. We got to the Super Bowl. Don't really think it was because of Jared Goff. I think statistically we can agree that it was not him.
The defense was killer.
Yeah, the defense was pretty much the reason we made it to the Super Bowl. But you're taking him, you're putting him into a great team. He plays average football. And you're taking Trevor Lawrence and throwing him into what is
a bad situation,
the worst team in the NFL right now. I mean, you can't really hate on him too much. I hated on him earlier on this season, right around the beginning. I still think he needs to work on some things, but I do think if you gave him some key pieces to actually play with,
Yeah.
he would actually be a really good quarterback. As of right now, I'm not seeing it. I don't really think he's going to get that opportunity playing with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that number one spot is tough, man.
Yeah. And to piggyback off what you just said, he's had a lot of moving pieces, and he doesn't have a lot of pieces around him for him to succeed at this point in his career. One of that being the head coach. Urban Meyer, everyone knows, was fired earlier a couple weeks ago. So he lost his head coach, Urban Meyer, being a distraction. So he's already had to deal with some distractions. He's dealing with a little more distractions, but the Jaguars head coaching candidates, will pull that up now. This is who they're talking about. Doug Peterson, they're interviewing, the former Eagles head coach, Super Bowl winning coach. Byron Leftwich, Jim Caldwell, Kellen Moore, Todd Bowles, and question. There's been talks about Jim Harbaugh potentially leaving Michigan. Could you see Jim Harbaugh and Trevor Lawrence teaming up in Jacksonville?
I could. I honestly could, because I think he's had a tough time at Michigan. I mean, Ohio State owns him. That's a known thing. You know, Michigan is the little brother to Ohio State. And in that division, you know, it's tough to be the little brother. You know, it's either you're on top or you're on the bottom. Yeah. There's no in between there. So I think for him, I mean, he comes from a winning family. I mean, his brother, you know, they're both very competitive.
Well, he was 44-19 in the NFL with the 49ers.
So I think it's a big possibility, especially if the money's there. If they can match what he's making at Michigan, I could honestly see it. I think he could fare well in the NFL again, especially with Trevor Lawrence. And he can bring in some insight on who to draft, when to draft them, who to trade for, because he's already got that experience. I mean, if you bring in some offensive coordinator, they don't really have that draft experience. They don't really have the know-how on when to trade and stuff. You know, they get the word down from the top. They go out and make things work. He's been the top. He knows how to make things move and make things work together. So I think that's a huge possibility, and that's my front runner for the Jags open position.
All right. So if they don't go with Jim Harbaugh, say Jim Harbaugh stays at Michigan, I think Doug Peterson is a good get. But personally, I would like to see Byron Leftwich get the job. One, he's played for the Jags, so he knows the city. He was a phenomenal quarterback for the Jaguars in his tenure there. But the stuff that he's doing in Tampa Bay right now as the offensive coordinator under Bruce Arians, phenomenal. And it's not because of Tom Brady or anything like that. His offensive schemes each week in and week out are absurd, and I think he deserves a legitimate shot at the Jaguars head coaching position. But those are my top two. Not big on Kellen Moore, but
if not the Jags, I mean, there's plenty of open positions out there, or will be. Chicago will probably be one of them. Detroit, maybe. I don't know. They might give him one more shot, but there's plenty of positions out there, and he definitely deserves one, because while he does have some key players, the way he runs things, phenomenal. He definitely deserves a shot somewhere.
Yeah, and he's a player's coach.
Yep.
So we'll keep updated on that. When they do make the hire, we'll talk about it on the show, but we will probably first update on Twitter, so make sure you guys are following there. For any updates, that's where you'll get your instant updates of when things happen around the NFL and in college. We move on. The Jags have had a horrible season, right?
Yep.
And so fans are coming for the owner, Shad Khan, and they're calling him hashtag clown out, and they're putting clown faces on him. And Trevor Lawrence was asked, and this was his response about fans coming at his owner. He says, "I guess I'll start by saying I understand how the fans that have been Jacksonville fans for a long time feel. I'm sure that hasn't been easy. There's a lot of diehard fans that this is, I wouldn't say everything for them, but this is something that's very important to them, and they've been a fan since the Jags started. You see that passion, and you definitely respect that. As players, I know the feeling. We want to do everything we can to win for the city, for these fans, and obviously we haven't had much success this year. That's frustrating for us as well, so I understand from a fan's perspective. Would I wear clown attire personally? No, I wouldn't do that, but fans feel how they feel, and it's hard. Like I said, this year's been disappointing for us all. We wanted to win a lot more games, so I get the frustration, but for us, we're just focusing on going and finishing with a win this season. Wow. Let's unpack that. One, that's maturity from a young quarterback.
Yeah.
Because, that's your owner. He signs your paychecks. But you also don't want to, you get, what he's relating to the fans. I get your frustration, dude. We're pissed off. We're pissed off, too.
Yeah.
Is it Shad Khan's doing? I personally think slightly so. I know he's one of the more active owners in his organization, putting his hands where they don't need to be had, and he's more focused on the money as far as going overseas and branding and stuff like that than trying to put together a top-tier roster. But he kind of played that fence there. I don't know if you agree, but I think he tiptoed that fence to where he's not calling out his owner and being disrespectful, but he's not disrespecting the fans.
Yeah, he played both sides of the field there perfectly, honestly. Yeah. He's, like you said, excited with the fans. He was like, dude, look, I get it. I'm on the field. Yeah. I want to win just as much as you guys want to see us win. It's frustrating. It's hard. I get it. And then he also went to the other side and said, but do we really need to be, plastering clown faces on the owner of the organization? No, we don't need to do that. Granted, things aren't going the way we want it to go, but there's other ways of expressing ourselves, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I totally get the fans' disappointment. The Jaguars have been the Jaguars
since the Jaguars.
Since the Jaguars became the Jaguars, I get it. And Khan really hasn't helped the situation much. He hasn't, I wouldn't say he's at fault for everything that's happened with the Jaguars, but he definitely has his hand in the pot.
Yeah.
I do think he is a little bit more distracted with things outside of football. His son, Tony Khan, owns AEW, runs all that, and his money comes from his dad. And I know his dad's going to be telling him what to do with that. That's a big production that they have going on. It's all over the place. So I think his mind is more focused on, like you said, the money-making aspect of football, branding, the wrestling stuff his son's doing, and everything else he's got going on. It might be time for him to sell it. Let somebody else come in.
And I know he's – and this is another reason why I think I get the fans' frustration, because he's tiptoed, Khan has tiptoed with the idea of moving to the UK. And you're a Rams fan. You're not originally from St. Louis, but St. Louis, people in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, were heartbroken when the Rams decided to move. You got San Diego fans who were fans of the Chargers, and all the Chargers did is go up the interstate.
Move a couple miles. Yeah,
move a couple miles, and they were heartbroken. I think fans get so invested with these teams, and when the owners not leaving it off the table and moving, and not just moving down the road, they're taking their talents over the pond, across the pond, as we say, to England. I don't think they will, but the fact that he's just blatantly just kept that door open kind of pisses some fans off.
And I understand that. I know I'm a Rams fan, and I'm not from California. I'm not from anywhere, St. Louis, anything like that.
I'm an Eagles fan, not from Philadelphia. So
I have a personal attachment to St. Louis because I became a fan when they were in St. Louis because of Sam Bradford. So I have a connection to that name.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's whatever. I wasn't hurt when we moved, but I understand the emotional part of the game and why fans are attached to certain teams because of where they're located.
Yeah.
The name has something in the heart of fans. It's just, that's the way the game is played. That's why a lot of us are fans. Like, I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan because they're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a fan. So the moment you uproot that team and move it to the UK, a lot of these fans are gonna be like, all right, time to find a new team. I guess we're going with the Dolphins because they're still in Florida.
No.
You know, I don't really see the reason why you'd want to move to the UK. I know there's money over there, but I think if there's going to be a team that goes to the UK, it should be an expansion. Add 2 more teams to the league, then move it over or something like that. But just going out and saying, it's a possibility we're going to move at some point. As a fan, I'd be like, well, I need to buy more
I don't
gear?
think there should be an expansion team though, because imagine the jet lag. Like if you have to do back-to-back away games, you're just going to stay in the United States, but then you're like, oh, home game, so we got to fly all the way back, and I think it's like a 10-hour flight back to the UK, and then play your home game.
But while that is a big factor in it, you have to think of the money that would be made by the NFL. That's, I hate to say it, but that's all the NFL is
money-making machine.
It's a company. They're just looking for money. That's all they want. They want to bring more opportunities to make money. They want to bring more opportunities for people to spend their money, and bringing it to the UK. That's a whole new just pot of cash for the NFL that has been untapped for so long. I know they play a game once a year, and if you ever watch those games, the stadium's packed for the most part.
They've expanded it to, I think, like there's 3 or 4 games played in the UK, but because of COVID is the reason why they had limited recently. But
and I know they played in Mexico, I think 2-3 years ago, something like that. So they're expanding to different countries. I personally think if you're going to do anything, just keep doing what you're doing and do games every once in a while in different countries.
I would agree there.
And if you do end up putting a team in a different country, do an expansion. Don't uproot a team because you're going to lose so many fans. Because I had so much St. Louis stuff. The moment we moved to Los Angeles, I'm like, well, now I look like an idiot walking around with St. Louis Rams stuff on, and these Jaguars fans are probably like, do I need to continuously buy Jacksonville Jaguars stuff?
Yeah.
Because are we going to move to the UK and then I'm going to have to
because they could change their name and everything.
So it's tough on fans, leaving that door open is kind of like a FU to the fans.
Yeah.
So I don't like it.
Well, let's move on, right? We talked enough about the Jags, and if you guys like to talk about more of the Jags, leave in the comments. We'll be happy to talk more about the Jags with you guys, whatever your team is. We're gonna move on to the Browns. This has been a very hot talking point for the past couple weeks now. I'm just gonna ask you the question: who's to blame more for this season, Baker or Kevin Stefanski?
I don't know if it's either of them solely. I think there's just been a lot of stuff going on with the Browns this year. I mean, the Odell Beckham stuff was a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a lot of personal issues going on with the Browns this season in the locker room that just really caused a lot of the team chemistry to kind of fall apart. COVID had a huge issue on the Browns this year. I mean, they were dismantled. I don't really think it's one person. I mean, Baker is not having the best year since coming into the league. He's having I think his second year in the NFL as a starter. I think this is on par with that season. I just wouldn't really place it on one person. And if I'm a Browns fan, stop coming for Baker. I mean, this isn't coming from an Oklahoma fan. This is just coming from an NFL fan, a football fan. You guys have sucked for so long. You guys finally found somebody who can come in, give you guys wins after an 0-16 season, give you guys a win, take you to the playoffs, give you guys something to cheer for. You guys had your beer coolers locked until you won a game, and Baker broke them bad boys open for you. Okay? He gave you beer.
He gave you beer.
You guys got so excited about him. And then now he's having a mediocre season, and you want to just tarnish it all and throw it away and find a new quarterback so you can go back to being the Browns. That is the brownest thing I've ever heard of. You guys continuously show up as the Browns, even when you're doing well. You're having one bad season after 2 or 3 good seasons with Baker, and now you're saying kick him to the curb. Yeah. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If you guys trade him, bench him, release him, whatever you do this offseason, it'll be the stupidest move I've ever seen in my life. I don't think he needs to be released. I think they need to find some more pieces. They need to find another wide receiver.
He's playing hurt. Is everyone just forget this? He's playing hurt.
Yeah, he's got a major shoulder injury for one. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, it's the Browns. Okay. You guys don't have too many pieces to start off with. You've got Nick Chubb, who's great at running back. He's got one good wide receiver now.
Yeah.
He's got a good tight end, decent tight end. The defense is all right. It still needs work. There's a lot of pieces missing. So you guys aren't going to win the Super Bowl. You're not going to go deep in the playoffs or even make the playoffs until you find these missing pieces. Stop placing the blame on one player and one person throughout the whole entire organization and just settle down. You had one bad season. It's not even like a bad season, especially for the Browns. This is a good season. Okay. Historically good season. Calm down, take a breath, relax. You got next season, see how it plays out. Guarantee you Baker will come back better. You'll be happy again. You'll say, Baker, we're glad we stuck with Baker, whatever. Just shut up. Stop being the Browns.
Wow, as an Eagles fan, and I'm glad that Jalen Hurts is playing well and has turned around his young career. At the beginning, obviously, his career, there was a lot of question marks. This Baker Mayfield situation reminds me a lot of this Carson Wentz situation.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz had one statistically bad year, which was last year, following year. Then he moves on to Indy. We kick him out. And luckily, Jalen Hurts has turned it around because at the beginning of the season, he was really struggling. But we ran Carson out of town probably a little too early after one bad year. We got lucky, right? Philadelphia got lucky with Jalen Hurts. The Browns, you Browns fans, are not that Do I need to pull up the photo of that jersey that had Tim Couch and like 25 different quarterbacks on it since like 2000? Do I need to bring that up to remind you guys of your past? Have you been so successful with Baker Mayfield the past couple of years that you just forgot how crappy you were, how many quarterbacks you had, how many talents and careers you had wasted, how much money you had wasted as an organization? Listen, I know that you want to be top tier. And I know Baker probably isn't. He's not elite. He's not. And he's probably just a slightly above average quarterback, but you can win with him. It's proven that you can win with Baker Mayfield. And it, like you said, Taylor, it would be the most Brown thing to ever occur to take a playoff winning caliber quarterback and dumping him to the side to pick up, say, a Malik Willis from Liberty, and then watching him crash and burn, and then having to draft another quarterback and watching him crash and burn. And it's just like domino effect.
You guys are just backtracking here if you continue to draft quarterbacks. And then that list on the back of those jerseys that you guys have created where it goes all the way down to your ankles, it's just going to get longer. I mean, Baker is it for you guys right now. You know, build around him, and you guys will have a good team.
And especially
right now.
Especially because this draft is not a draft for quarterbacks. If you're not getting Matt Carroll, Kenny Pickett, or who's the other one? Sam Howell. And even then, I don't think all three of those quarterbacks are franchise quarterbacks. I think they're, again,
those are all Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, those are all Baker Mayfield. So
you're getting the same thing.
Are you really upgrading? You're getting an above-average quarterback, slightly above-average quarterback that can sometimes play great. And then you have, not only that, you have to have that rookie learn how the NFL operates again. That rookie has to learn the offense, that Kevin Stefanski's offense. And then you're starting all over again. And let's put this out, right? And people are like, well, we shouldn't get rid of Baker. We should get rid of our head coach. No. Baker's had like 4 or 5 different head coaches in his 5-year career, 6-year career, whatever year he's in. You need stability. You're like a little kid who goes into a toy store and you get a nice toy that you've always wanted for Christmas. You get it, and you're like, oh, I love this toy. And then you look up and you go, that toy looks shinier. So then you pick that toy, you bring it home, and you throw away the receipt so you cannot return that toy anymore. You open the box. You break the seal. You press the button, and the arm falls off, and now you can't return it. And you're like, crap. I should have kept the other toy.
And if they really want to fix the problem with the Browns, fix your offensive line. Because he's been sacked 43 times. 43 times. Last year, he was sacked 26 times. His worst year outside of this year, he was sacked 40 times. And then one of his best years, he was only sacked 25 times. protect your quarterback, find some pieces that can do that, give him some time in the pocket. He'll make plays happen. Yeah. It's proven. If you protect him, he provides high stats. It's a proven thing that if you protect your quarterback, they will provide for you. You know, well. I mean, he only threw 8 interceptions last year, and he was only sacked 26 times. He only threw 13 his first year in the season, and he was only sacked 25 times. Whenever he's sacked above 40, he throws 21 picks, and then this year 13.
Yeah,
I mean, protect him.
Baker has always been. I personally think he's always been a pretty accurate quarterback. There are some times where he makes decisions where you're like, okay, what was that? I think there's quarterbacks like that all across the league. But for the most part, he's been a pretty accurate quarterback. He's injured this year. The offensive line sucks. It's just not your year, and that happens, right? I think you still need to continue to build, and don't give up too early.
Yeah.
I don't think listen, and don't crucify me. I don't think he's elite. And I think that in a couple years, not this year, because this year is not great for quarterbacks, but the following year, if Baker doesn't play well in 2022, 2023, you've got potential Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams coming out of OU if you want to go another OU quarterback. Spencer Rattler. You have not Bryce Young because he's a freshman either. CJ Stroud. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could be coming out in 2023 that you could potentially have fixed the Browns if that's what you want to do. But you got to hold on to Baker a little bit longer because if not, you're going to regret it. With that being said, we do have a surprise guest. Let me go in and hit him up. We're going to be talking about his team. He won our fantasy league. We're going to congratulate him personally in our gaming organization. If you guys don't know, we also have a gaming organization. And who knows, Sideline to Sideline might have Madden tournaments, in the future.
Might
host it. We do.
I'm winning that if we do. I'm calling it right now.
Well, we'll invite people, some Madden players out there who want to showcase their talent.
They'll get destroyed by me. Calling it right now. I'm just kidding. I suck at Madden. I can't play that game. All right, I'm decent.
All right. There he is. Give me 1 second as I adjust the names on the overlay here.
What's going on, Marcus?
What's going on, Marcus?
How you doing, boys?
Sir,
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Glad you could make it. Glad to have you on here.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be talking a little bit about the Washington football team here.
Yeah, well, my team, the Washington football team.
I think we got a couple of questions.
Soon to be hopefully renamed.
All right, so first, Sideline to Sideline and Vector would like to congratulate the Brit on beating a couple of American chumps in fantasy football this year. Were you the 4th seed coming into the playoffs?
I was the 4th seed coming into the playoffs. And
I was number 1 seed, and I lost.
Beat you in the semifinal, and then beat Nenji in the final in a pretty low-scoring week, actually, for pretty much everyone.
You're telling me.
I dropped Antonio Brown for him, and Antonio Brown dropped his jersey for you. So
hey, that's collusion. That is collusion right there.
Okay, here we go.
You are barred from
any way if you tried not to let a Brit win the fantasy football. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of ironic because Bryson Ninja, he hit me up and he was like, dude, can you drop Antonio Brown for me, dude? I need him to win. So I drop him. And then all of a sudden I'm watching the game live on television. I just see Antonio Brown take his jersey off and I'm like, oh my Lord.
I mean, look, I had basically my whole plan this whole year was relying on 3 players. And all 3 of those players were all Packers. It was
that, I mean, that's
Jones,
fair enough.
Adams, and Rodgers. They carried me to winning a Super Bowl. So I'm happy with it.
I just want to say Ninja did hit me up to drop Cooper Kupp.
He was colluding, man. He was.
Wow. He was. So you were coming at me about colluding, but really,
I didn't drop him. I didn't drop nobody. I didn't drop.
I didn't even try. I didn't even ask for anyone to drop anyone.
Yeah, I didn't drop.
I was content with my team. and it worked.
It paid off, man.
It paid
Paid
off.
off.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. And
Appreciate
just for the fans out there, Marcus will be receiving a ring for his win in our fantasy football league. Hopefully we'll get that to him soon.
I'm
And
looking
he gets
forward
to
to
show
it.
that off at some point.
I will be on Twitter. Don't worry.
Yeah, he'll be all over there.
And if you guys aren't already, make sure you follow his Twitter and his Twitch. The man is a handsome devil. But he is live on Twitch on Illing96. There you go. And I believe that's also your Twitter. We'll put that in the YouTube bio as well when this video goes live. So you are a Washington football team fan.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
We'll get into the whole upcoming names here in a bit that you might have to be able to choose from as a fan. But first I want to ask you about Tyler Heineke. Do you think that he is the quarterback of the future, or is he more of a bridge quarterback? I mean, what are your thoughts on your QB situation?
Okay, so here's what I would say. I think Heineke is definitely more of a bridge quarterback. I don't think he's going to be Washington's starting quarterback for the next 10 years. Saying that, I don't think it's going to be this year that we're going to bring someone in. The draft pool is slim for QBs. Yeah. So I think this year it'll be we'll probably pick up a safety, honestly, and strengthen that defense even more.
Maybe Kyle Hamilton out of
exactly. I think Kyle Hamilton would be a great pickup. But we're kind of in a tough position. That 9th spot in the draft is kind of a tough place to be because, I mean, especially this year more than others, I don't think you can really there's no set in stone top 10 for players. So it's going to be interesting to see how the draft works out this year. I'm excited for what Washington are going to do. This year was tough, but I think
2 losses to the Eagles in the past 4 games, I believe. Something like that.
We don't like to talk about it. It was 2 losses to the Cowboys. We beat the Eagles earlier in the season, actually.
Yeah.
But we did lose to them. What was it, last weekend or the week? Last weekend we lost to them, which was a little bit painful. Our defense just struggled this year, which is so surprising with how strong it is.
Sorry, I'm listening. I'm trying to find the team names that they've decided.
Oh, you'll find. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it was one of those when we lost Chase Young,
that was brutal.
Our defense kind of fell apart, honestly.
Yeah, that was it for you guys.
And we were playing well before we lost him, honestly.
I was actually tuning into a lot of your games. I mean, they were exciting to watch, honestly.
Our defense was exciting.
Yeah, the way you guys manhandled the Seahawks earlier this season brought me so much joy to my heart.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah. It was great to see. So going back to the quarterback situation here, I got a mock draft pulled up. You guys are number 9, and right now you guys are projected to take Sam Howell out of North Carolina, UNC, as your first round pick. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Sam Howell would be able to bring you guys what you need in a quarterback, or think it's too soon?
The thing. I don't think. I think it's too soon right now to bring in. I think Washington have made the mistake with quarterbacks over the last couple of years. I mean, you look at Dwayne Haskins. Haskins. Yeah. I mean,
dude was busy taking selfies.
Right.
Okay. I mean, come on.
I mean, he was a dog coming out of Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. But he was a quality. He looked quality at Ohio State, but he never made that transition into the NFL. I think with what Washington have now, obviously with Heineke, we've still got Fitzmagic as well. You can't forget him. Carl Allen as a sort of third string. I mean, we don't have awful options in the quarterback position. We can change it around. Obviously, this year was a little difficult with Fitzpatrick being injured the whole season. Was unfortunate, but I guess we'll just see. What happens next year. I'd rather we bring in someone in the secondary, honestly, to strengthen that, rather than bring in a quarterback who's honestly with this draft pool, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be a franchise quarterback.
I was just about to say, there's no quarterback in this upcoming draft that screams franchise. They're all we're just comparing him to Baker Mayfield, an above-average quarterback that can have some good games, but for the most part will probably be a career above-average quarterback. And you don't want to waste your first-round pick, especially not top 10 pick. On something that you're just going to be.
Exactly. I mean, do you? That's the thing. I don't really want us to bring someone in who's going to be.
You don't want somebody who's going to wash out in like 4 or 5 years and become a backup quarterback. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, let me throw this scenario out to you. Okay, this is something I'm very passionate about here. Let's say this scenario happens. Let's say the Carolina Panthers do away with Cam Newton again this offseason.
He has been passionate about this.
Okay, let's say he is a free agent this upcoming offseason. Is it likely that the Washington football team could sign Cam Newton to a 1-year deal, okay, to play under Ron Rivera once again? Because when he played with Ron Rivera, as we saw, he was a good quarterback. Do you think that he is a potential candidate to fill that spot for one more year?
A bridge quarterback, if you will. Nothing.
I seriously hope not. I seriously hope not. Look, I remember
you don't
watching
want Super Bowl season Cam.
Look, I mean, I'd love Super Bowl season Cam, but that Cam Newton's gone. I think everyone's well aware that form. He's never getting that back.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think it would be awesome to see Rivera and Cam Newton come together again. I just really hope they don't do it, because
look, I think the only way to save Cam Newton's career is to get him back under Ron Rivera. Honestly, I don't think he's able to be coached by anybody else. I think Ron Rivera was able to speak to him in a way that nobody else could, and I just think that a 1-year contract to give you guys a decent season with Cam Newton under Ron Rivera again gives you some time to build up the rest of your team, get your secondary where it needs to be, get some other key pieces, skip out on this draft for a quarterback. Next year, get some of the top tier quarterbacks that are going to be open and available in the draft.
Yeah, 2023.
Just see what he can do.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. Yeah, the
Washington football team needs to do. I wouldn't. If we can make it so that, I mean, there's no guarantee that he has to start every single week, I'm all for it. Yeah. But the last thing that I'd want is for us to bring in Cam Newton and for us to say, look, I mean, he's going to start every single game, no matter how he plays.
Yeah.
Just because we're paying him money. I would hate for that to happen, because then he won't be pushed to, I think, but I do think Heineke thrives with competition behind him.
Yeah.
I think we saw that in the early starts of the season.
He's not a bad quarterback.
Preseason and the first 2 games when he had Fitzmagic there to try and compete against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But when Fitz got injured, I mean, Carl Allen isn't a starting quarterback.
No.
No. I think Carl Allen would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. It's just like if Cam Newton came in to give Heineke that competition, I think it could make Heineke a much better player, honestly.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting for sure.
And I don't really think anybody's going to want to touch Cam Newton anymore. I mean, after seeing what happened with the Patriots and then what happened with Carolina.
I think if there was one person to even touch him, it would be Ron Rivera.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I think Ron's
only...
And it would be interesting. Look, I'm not completely running it out. I kind of hope it doesn't happen.
I understand completely why you don't want it to happen. I mean,
it would be awesome to see them back together.
I think Tyler Heineke, though, has done enough to say to Ron Rivera, I'm at least the bridge quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm at least the bridge
I think he has. And no, I don't think anyone can. I don't think anyone can say a bad word about Taylor Heineke.
No.
With the work that he's put in for Washington over the last last year and a half.
Yeah, I will say this: after his time in Washington is complete, he will go down as the next Brock Osweiler. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
I mean,
Just saying, man.
he's one of those players.
He's going to get a huge contract. I guarantee it. Once he's done with Washington, somebody's going to give him a big contract.
A Matt Flynn throwing it way back.
He's going to go out and he's just going to play subpar football, man.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, is he going to be a big starting quarterback for a top program in the NFL? No,
probably not. No,
he's never going to be that player. But is he going to be a solid, reliable quarterback that you
for
can
the Texans?
Yeah.
Probably. Honestly, yeah.
As long as he doesn't go get massages,
We'll go ahead and edit that one.
Yeah, we'll just moving quickly on. Yeah, that's I just don't know what that situation with Watson.
That's tough.
I don't know what he's doing with his life.
All right, so let's move. I'm going to move into a different segment here, staying on topic with the Washington football team before we get into other questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have this slated or not, but I'm going to throw it out there. What are your thoughts on the Washington football team stadium, the condition the stadium's in, and the things that have happened
killed
this
my
season?
Quarterback.
Yeah, we've had sewage lines breaking. We've had the stadium breaking and almost crushing Jalen Hurts. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
I'll just say I don't think that was intentional. I will say FedEx Field. I've been there. It's a great stadium. It's an amazing stadium, but it
sounds a little biased.
It's not up to par right now. It needs a lot of.
It's not up to code.
Have you ever seen FedEx drivers handle packages? They throw it at your door. I mean, that's essentially FedEx Field is throwing fans at quarterbacks here.
True. Yeah.
Do you think it's time that they upgrade
to UPS?
Do you think they have the money to upgrade and get a new stadium, or do you think we're gonna have to deal with?
They have the new. They definitely have the money. The fact is they don't have the personnel that are willing to do it. The ones who are in charge of sort of the Dan Snyder and a lot there, they won't do it.
Do you think this past incident with Jalen Hurts, do you think that might nudge them in the right direction? Because you've got a new name coming. You've got two incidences where fans were scattered with feces from a septic pipe bursting.
Yeah.
And then you had fans falling out of the stadium. I mean, it's starting to look like it's becoming more of a liability for the Washington football team than it is an accommodation for the fans.
I don't disagree. I would hope so. But like I said, Dan Snyder needs to get out the Washington.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot.
I mean, literally, you ask any Washington fan their opinion on Dan Snyder, and it's the same.
Yeah.
He needs to leave, and
unfortunately,
until it happens, I mean, I don't know how much is actually going to go into the infrastructure of the team. I'd love Washington to get a brand new stadium. Don't get me wrong.
I think, for my input here, I think once they get when we're getting ready to discuss and ask you about the new name changes, I think once they solidify their name change, they might, once they get the uniforms and all that, they might go ahead and put that money to upgrading the stadium because it's a new team, same team, but new
I think
name
I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of people who just automatically assume that if you're going to do something to a stadium, it just means you need a new stadium, which obviously isn't true. There's a lot that can be done with FedEx Field to refurbish it and improve it. Yeah, a lot. I don't disagree that. I mean, even benches for the away teams apparently. That needs to be done.
The Cowboys, I believe the Cowboys brought in their own, didn't they?
They did, and then we also took our own to Dallas when we got absolutely demolished. We won't talk about that.
Might as well be comfortable while getting destroyed, right?
Right. We also took our benches to Philly as well. So
that just sounds like a rivalry thing right there.
Yeah, and that's what it was. That's what it turned into, rather than.
It's not sidetracking here, but the Washington football team is fighting amongst each other with Payne and who is the other one? Your 2 defensive tackles were getting in a fight on
Yeah.
the sideline.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to get fixed out there in FedEx Field.
Look, I'm trying. I'm not trying to say that the Washington football team is in a good place right now. I mean, honestly, I was fairly happy,
Is
especially
this the
after
NFL or
Chase.
UFC?
I mean, it's borderline. When we lost Chase Young, it all went downhill. Our whole season went downhill. Everyone just kind of started. Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And
Understandable too. I mean, that was a big loss. So
right. I mean, Chase Young. We talk about franchise quarterbacks. Chase Young is a franchise player.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a player who, if we can keep him healthy and we can keep him under contract, he is going to be probably go down as one of the Washington football team's best ever players.
yeah,
I would agree.
agreed.
I mean, he has got that kind of talent. He had that talent in Ohio State, and he's already brought it into the league. So
Ohio State.
the Ohio State University, yeah, of course. My local. It's not my local, but yeah. I suppose from where I am in Ohio, everyone kind of supports Ohio State.
Didn't you graduate from Ohio State?
No. I graduated from a small university in Southeast Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Ohio State's around like an hour and a half from me, so everyone kind of supports it in this area.
All right. So I guess we should just jump into the name change. What name will Chase Young be repping next season?
Would you like me to spit out the names that they have?
I would, because I haven't heard them in a little bit, so it'd be good to have a reminder.
The 9 names are the Defenders, the Commanders, the Red Hawks, the Brigade. I can't.
Brigade.
There you go. I can't. I can't speak
we have
English.
we have some literacy issues here on the show.
The American people have butchered the English language. I apologize. The Sentinels,
As usual.
the Admirals, the Presidents, the Armada, and the Red Hogs.
Honestly, I hate all of them. I'll be straight up frank with you. I hate all of them. Now I know there's supposed to be some kind of input from
And the Red Wolves. I forgot about
the Indians on they had some input on the name and the logo. So I imagine they are probably going to want to keep some kind of heritage attached to it. So I think it won't be anything like the Sentinels or anything along those kind of lines. One name, the Red Wolves, I think that has been one that has been pretty popular among fans as well.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to keep that Indian heritage, that'll definitely go along with that. So if you're going off that list, my vote goes to the Red Wolves. It kind of doesn't really sound like an NFL team, I will say that.
Sounds like a hockey team.
Either a hockey team or even a college team, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they can just make it the Wolves, honestly, I mean.
Yep, that'd be.
But I mean, I think that would take it more
forcing
away from the
red.
college side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas our colors are burgundy anyway, so I mean they're not really red.
They're like, hey guys, guess what? Our team colors are red. You should know that's in our name.
Right. But I mean, Washington seems to do things a little different to how the rest of the league works. So I guess we'll see what they come up with. I'm excited for it. It looks like, I mean, if you haven't seen Washington football team socials, there's a big announcement on the 22nd of February.
Yeah.
So I am guessing that's going to be the new name.
They're announcing the name change.
It is. That's been confirmed. Okay. So that's obviously when we're going to find out what the Washington franchise, we'll just call it that now. The Washington football team's dead.
Could not be. That's still actually on the table. Football.
I know it actually is, isn't it? The Washington football team is still actually one of the names that could be picked.
Yeah. They said that the name will not be the Red Wolves.
Did they?
I think
on here on Sports Illustrated right here it says their name will not be the Red Wolves.
That was the coolest one outside the Red Hawks.
It was the best one in my opinion.
Yeah, they even said on here, they said unquestionably the best of the nicknames.
I think it will end up being the Presidents, I think.
Yeah. The Red Hogs,
I
think maybe just the Hogs, because formerly known as the Redskins, the hog, the pig, was kind of a not logo, but kind of like a side thing. People wore, pig hats to the games and stuff like that. It could be to that heritage of historical figure size. But the Red Wolves was the coolest name, and now you guys just destroyed all hopes of Marcus's.
It's been a love-hate relationship with this team. I'll say that. Mainly hate over the last couple of years, but a little bit of love in there as well. I'll say that.
So we'll kind of ask you this question. So everyone knows you are from England. We can tell by your accent, but we welcome you here in America. You are an American, not by blood, but by honor.
Uh-huh.
By moving here to you decided to live in Ohio.
Yeah,
I don't know if he decided that. I think he was
I didn't
there.
really decide it,
Yeah.
to be honest. I kind of got that was the university that picked me, but yeah.
There you go. So coming to the NFL, or coming to America, why did you choose the Washington football team as your team?
Okay, so it actually goes back to before I was in the States. So I've actually been watching the NFL probably 8 years now. So I started around 2015. I started watching the NFL, and it was because I had a friend from Washington who came over to the UK, and he started to get me into watching the NFL. So he was obviously at the time it was the Redskins. He was a Redskins fan. And so basically I just was watching Redskins games with him. And I've just continued to support Washington ever since. And it's been a painful journey. Obviously we had our big high last year when we won the conference, even though we went negative, which was fun. But I mean that's the NFC East for you, isn't it?
It's the NFC East.
Yeah, which I mean, actually, this year wasn't awful. I mean, we got 2 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. I can't wait for them both to go out in the first round.
We will. Listen, I'm wearing my hat with pride because I can only wear it for so much longer. All right. So.
Right. But the Cowboys will as well. I don't see the Cowboys getting past the first round.
No.
They offensively they suck.
They haven't beat a good team this whole season.
They haven't.
The only good team they beat were the Chargers, and that was by a field goal. And the Chargers have been exposed all season. So
yeah, and the Chargers have really not been that great all year.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for playoffs. I really am. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, there's still a couple of spots still to clinch in the playoffs, which is crazy going into
the last
18th week of the season. So I mean, which is nuts to see that, but it's great actually for the NFL that it's like this. That it's been so tight all year, and only this week have 8 or 9 teams actually been eliminated.
Yeah.
Speaking of the playoffs, real quick, this has nothing to do with Washington, but I'm going to throw out a scenario that's been proposed a couple of times. The Chargers and the Raiders play each other this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
The Colts and the Jaguars play this weekend. Now, if the Colts lose to the Jaguars somehow, which has happened every time the Colts have played at Jacksonville for the past 6 years or something, the only way the Chargers and the Raiders get in is if they tie. Do you guys think it's a possibility that they have some type of agreement that they will tie the game, like a touchdown, or a field goal, and that's it, or not even play the game and just tie?
It's not against the rules to agree before the game to just not play the game. It's not against the rules.
Do you think they could do that with the potential of a Colts loss?
Are they? This is interesting. Are they being played at the same time?
No, I think the Chargers and the Raiders is later in the evening.
Yeah, they are. And the Jaguars and Colts play at 1.
Okay, so I could only see that happening if the Colts lose.
Yeah.
Well, if the Colts win, they automatically clinch, so it doesn't even really matter. At that point,
exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. If the Colts lose, then they might do something like that. Honestly, I highly doubt it would happen.
I would hate it.
I would hate for it to happen because I think, especially with this season, how it's worked out, that would honestly be one of the worst ways to finish it. It's just two teams getting like a 3-3 tie.
They're like, hey,
Like
let's go to the bar after this and get a couple drinks together. Like, we made it to the playoffs.
Let's say you're on one of those two teams, though, okay? And you watch the Colts lose, okay? And that the only way either team gets into the playoffs is if you tie. You're telling me if you're on that team, you're not going to be like, fuck it. I'm done. I'm not going to play. I'm getting in the playoffs. I mean, why play the game if it's going to knock you out?
Yeah.
I do get that. And I mean,
as a fan, yeah, it's kind of like,
that's the thing. I think from a fan point of view, it's just like, it would be kind of shit for the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, from a player's standpoint, they don't really. Well, I ain't playing that game. They don't care really
I'm
about
not
what
playing
the fans.
that game.
I mean, if both teams have a chance to get playoffs, then I could see it happen.
I mean, that's money on the line right there. They get playoff bonuses. They get all that stuff.
Yeah.
I am not playing the game. I'm out.
Well, they have. Surely they have to play the game. They just don't have to like. They can just literally get a 3-3 tie, right?
They
can't not forfeit. Play.
Yeah.
If they both forfeit,
then it's a tie.
Okay.
So they can literally do a gentleman's agreement before the game and just call it.
That would be so bad if they did that.
American football.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about how you became a football fan, a Washington football fan. The NFL has made it an importance to expand its reach or horizons past the U.S. border. We saw some games in Mexico, Canada, most importantly, England, and the U.K. How has the NFL been received by the people in UK, and do you think it's growing exponentially?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've been to 3 NFL London games. I've been to the first one I went to was Chiefs Lions back in 2015, I believe it was.
Oof.
Which was a Chiefs win, obviously.
Yeah.
Then the next year I went to it was Houston against, I can't remember who they played, but Houston won that. And I actually went to a Washington game over in London as well, which ended in a tie. That was the game we tied with. I can't remember who was it that we tied with. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. So I mean, and every time I've been, there have been probably 75 to 80,000 people in the stadiums.
Yeah.
So they've now opened up more games each year. Obviously, we've had with the coronavirus. Obviously, some of those games have obviously not been moved away from home and have been played in the US. But I mean, there is a huge amount of love for American football over in the UK and love for watching the NFL. College football isn't at that level over there. It's barely even spoken of. But the NFL itself is huge in the UK, and it's continuing to grow.
When it first started going over to the UK and started expanding, I know the Jaguars are kind of that, we talked about it, me and Taylor talked about it earlier on the show, kind of that head front, pushing, maybe expanding a team over there, maybe even moving themselves over there. So I'm surprised you're not a Jaguars fan, honestly, because they've been kind of that top team that like wants to be.
I'm glad I'm not. I'll just say that.
But God forbid your soul you were. But was it kind of like a transition period? I'm assuming there was for a lot of people in the UK. Obviously, when you say football, people over across the pond think of what we call soccer. Right. I know that's still the number one. Probably, I would say probably the number one sport.
It is. Yeah. Easily the number one sport. Yeah.
Over in the UK. Do you think that in any time, maybe in a couple years, the NFL could rival the passion for soccer?
No. Straight and simple, no.
So soccer games on or in a Washington football team games on, what you watching?
Well, see, that's slightly different for me because I honestly only really watch my football team, soccer team play. It pains me to say that word. But I only really watch them. So for me,
Football.
it doesn't really it never really clashes. My team doesn't play on a Sunday, so I have the luxury of watching both. But I mean, for the most part, when it comes to American football versus English football, in England, English football is going to continue to be the number one sport, and that's never going to change.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Fair enough. And my last question, personally, for you was: when you first started learning about the game and learning the ins and outs, were you confused on why we call it football when we don't really?
Oh, 100%. It's hand egg.
When we
It's
don't
hand
even
egg.
use our feet.
It is hand egg. That's what it should be called. It's not a ball, and you don't use your feet apart from for 3 plays a game, basically.
But it sounds good.
I mean, they couldn't really call it hand egg, I guess, could they? I mean,
we spell it different. We spell it different.
Yeah.
It's not
You guys-
FUTBOL. Well, that's Spanish version. Never mind.
That's the Spanish version. We call it.
My Spanish
Exactly.
teacher has
Words
failed me.
are not our strong suit here.
Hey, look,
on
I took
sideline to
Spanish
sideline.
I took Spanish in high school, and she ingrained that into my skull.
Hold on.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. So. my
Did you
Spanish
show up
teacher-
for class?
Even that surprises me.
No. I know that
There we
Spanish
go.
word.
Well, this has been interesting. I'm glad we got an insight from Washington football fan, somebody from the UK. I mean, I've learned a lot. Surprising that you guys hate the word football that much.
No, soccer. We hate the word
Sorry,
soccer.
Yeah.
soccer.
That is a horrible
Sorry.
word.
But I appreciate you coming on. We've enjoyed it. I
course.
think we can. I think we could say we'll have you on in the future for
I'd
some
love to.
segments and stuff.
Love to.
It's been great.
And congratulations on winning.
Yeah, and congratulations
football.
for beating a bunch of Americans at fantasy football, my
Hey, we
man.
I
still
mean,
won in
you let-
1776.
We did the whole thing. And then right at the end, you have to break that up. I mean, look, I said it right at the start of the season. That's what I'll say. In the Discord, I put, I hope none of you lose to me because I'm not letting it go. And I mean, all I'm saying is I'm not letting this go anytime
Proud to
soon.
be an American.
I just want to say I did beat you at the end of the season. I just couldn't make it to the final 2. But
Yeah, I was
regardless-
worried, honestly. I thought if I played you again, I thought I'd probably lose in the final. But
regardless,
I wasn't
you
worried
won.
about Higgs.
Yeah.
I knew I'd beat him.
Lowest scoring team out of everyone.
Get out of here.
Literally.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I mean,
But
literally
regardless,
in the final, you
congrats.
got like 85 points, Higgs. I don't know
Yeah.
what. I
I
don't know
know
what you were
my
doing.
players let me down. All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me
Draft better.
Draft better, homie. I went 13-2.
Yeah, and I went 9-6 and won a ring.
Okay.
What have you got?
Ouch.
And
What
the
have you
Eagles
got
are going.
on your
And the
finger?
Eagles are going to the playoffs.
Yeah, to lose. in the
Hey,
first
there
round.
you go. Yeah. I don't know if that's really something to brag about
Well,
too much there.
I get one more extra week of not having to watch it.
I mean, you think I'm going to be watching the Eagles play? I'm not. I've got an interesting prediction for the Super Bowl, actually.
Let's hear it, man. Let's hear
Okay,
it.
so well, I've got 2 scenarios. Here's the first one. First one is the Green Bay Packers make it from, and they will go up against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a weird take, I know, but I
Hold on,
think
okay.
I think
Ohio
Cincinnati.
roots are showing here.
Yeah.
No. Because if you've watched the Cincinnati
No,
Bengals,
Cincinnati Bengals are legit.
they've
are
got
legit
it.
this
They've
year.
got the potential.
They are very legit this
They
year.
definitely have the
But
potential.
I think a lot of people are going to write them off.
They're definitely a dark horse.
I can
for sure.
I can see whatever happens. I can see Cincinnati at least making the NFC Championship. Yeah.
AFC.
Oh, AFC
AFC.
Championship. Sorry. Yeah, I always get those two confused sometimes. So yeah, I could see them making the AFC Championship game. Whether they beat, it will probably be Buffalo. I'm guessing would be that. That's kind of my other team that I think. Obviously, you're shaking your head and saying no.
Buffalo, they are fake.
Pretenders.
They are pretenders to the
Pretenders.
T.
See, I don't know. I mean,
To
look,
the T.
they have one offensive player, and that's Josh Allen, obviously. But
Are
look,
you forgetting
they
Diggs?
do
Yeah, you're
stuff,
freaking
man.
Stephon Diggs?
And Singletary?
Yeah.
No, I mean, let's be
look,
honest. Let's be honest. Come
Josh
on.
Allen
All
is
year
holding
it's
them
been
back.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is holding them back.
Okay.
Diggs and Singletary are carrying that team.
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah,
Allen is a
alright.
good quarterback, but he's
Trevor
not.
Lawrence beat Josh Allen. All right.
Look, I
That's
don't
a fact.
disagree with you.
That is a fact.
But I'm pretty sure Diggs and Singletary were both out that week when they played Jacksonville.
And still lost them.
And that was
to
it.
Josh Allen.
But this
was
is what
there.
I'm saying. If Josh Allen has no one good in his team apart from 2 players,
So it's
not gonna be able
not
to do
Josh
it.
Allen. It's the other two
whatever,
players.
whatever, we're getting away from the point. Okay, so here's what on the Super Bowl. It's gonna. My prediction is for it to be the Packers against the Bengals, and I'm gonna back the Green Bay Packers to go and win it all.
All right.
I would like to see if that is the matchup. I personally would like to see the Bengals win. That would be a huge get for Ohio
I wouldn't be
and
upset.
Cincinnati.
I wouldn't be upset if Cincinnati did win it. Obviously, Ohio, all of that. So I wouldn't be upset about it. I just don't see it happening, honestly.
Hey, we've got you marked down though for your Super Bowl pick. We've got our picks out there, so we'll see what the fans got to say, man.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the Lions.
Let's see.
Why do you keep saying that, man? The Lions ain't getting in.
The Lions are already long gone, bro.
God.
They're long eliminated.
Hey,
Every episode.
One day.
One day the Lions might make it.
Yeah.
But give it like 50 years.
I'll be dead by then.
Yeah.
You're right.
We'll be dead.
It's long
I think
gone.
we all will be.
Yeah.
To be honest. We probably will be dead by the time the Lions make a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
we do want to welcome
goodness.
you and thank you for coming on Sideline to Sideline, Marcus. And
Of
we
course.
don't want to thank you for beating us in fantasy, but we do want to congratulate you on beating us in fantasy. So I'm not going to say thank you for kicking my tail in the first week of fantasy, but congratulations.
Yep. Congrats.
appreciate it. Thank you very much, boys.
All right.
Thank you
Until
for having
next
me
time.
on.
All right, no
I'll
problem.
see you later.
All right. See you.
Thanks.
All right, that was an interesting segment. Let me fix everything here now. Get everything kind of set back up. Any thoughts on what just occurred? What's your favorite name change potentially for the football team while I get this set up?
I personally think that the Sentinel one would be nice. It still keeps it in the Native American heritage name sake. I don't think it's too derogatory like everybody says Redskins was. I'm fascinated by Native American history, so I think having a team with some type of Native American background is great. But if they don't go with that, I think something on the military side of things, considering they're right there near DC where the Pentagon is, the commander-in-chief, all of that, which is the president for those of you that don't know. I don't think like the Defenders or the Commanders Brigade or Armada really sounds good. But the president,
Kamala Harris's.
The president sounds pretty dope. I mean, something along that line. I don't know.
Presidents is actually a pretty dope name. I think,
I mean, they're right there in
Red Hawks are
DC.
pretty
So.
cool too. I think the
Red Hawks is pretty dope. The Hogs would be pretty tight. It
Just
does
the
have
Hogs,
a little
though.
bit of Native American.
Just the Hogs, not the
I
Red
like-
Hogs.
I think they got some good names out there. It'll be cool to see what they pick.
I do think that they're trying to force that color just a little. Like, hey, we're red. Like, what would it be? The red president? It's like, come on now. So that was Marcus, guys. He beat us in our fantasy football. We invited him on the show. He will be a special guest, probably returning in the future. But we move on to Big Ben's last hurrah. This is last week here. He's playing Baltimore. Last week he won against the Cleveland Browns at home. It's kind of a great way for him to kind of end his career. Hopefully he beats Baltimore to kind of check that off before he rides off into the sunset. Unfortunately, he won't be in the playoffs to give that one last hurrah. So I just want to bring up, before we discuss Big Ben a little further, his interview. It made me not tear up, but getting a little emotional because he's been in the league for a while. I don't know if Taylor saw it, but we'll go ahead and play it now. And Let's do it.
It's probably not the way you wanted it other than the win, and that's all that really matters. That's kind of been the story of my career. It's not always pretty, but we find a way, and man, did our defense step up tonight, and the guys they're just so much fun to be out here. These are the best fans in sports, the best place to play. So,
what was going through your mind when Najee kind of sealed it, took that last one to the house?
I didn't think I was going to take the field again, but it's the best play in football when you're an offensive player to take a knee. And so I'm glad I got to do it one last time.
All right, so that was Big Ben in his last interview, or not last interview, but one of his last interviews with Pam Oliver. Shout out to ESPN for that clip. I just have what has Big Ben Roethlisberger meant to you in this league?
I mean, as a big boy, Big Ben has given us all hope that no matter what position you want to play, you can play it. Yeah, honestly though, he came from a small school. Nobody really saw him as anything, and then he came out and he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's thrown for 63,000 plus yards, 417 touchdowns. The dude's been pretty phenomenal, considering his size and the injury he sustained during his motorcycle accident, and being able to come back from that and still play at a top tier level. I've always enjoyed watching him. It's Big Ben. Not too many people can hate on him unless you're a fan of a rival team. Even they don't really hate him. He's one of those hard to hate players. So I've always enjoyed watching him, and it sucks seeing him go, because these are the players that are leaving now, the players we grew up on. When we started watching football, Big Ben was making his debut, so it's hard watching him leave, but it's definitely time. If you've seen this past season, he's definitely not the Big Ben that we've all seen throughout the past some odd years. So it's sad to see, but it's definitely time.
He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's had a hell of a career. And so now I raise this question to you. Before I raise it, I will answer my personal self. I think that he is a Hall of Famer. But do you agree? Do you think he will go into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, absolutely. And if he doesn't, it's a shame. He's definitely earned his spot for sure.
He's a solidified NFL great. And you can always tie the Steelers organization to the great Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
With that being said, Pittsburgh is looking to have a new quarterback next year with Ben retiring. What are some potential candidates, do you think, that could potentially replace him over there in Pittsburgh? They have a nice young team who some could say they're only one solid quarterback away from pushing the limits. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season as a head coach. He's Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson over there, and Chase Claypool and company. What quarterback do you think could be that replacement?
If they're looking to win a Super Bowl within the next 2 years, I would say Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers does actually leave Green Bay. Mm-hmm. If they're looking for somebody to be their franchise quarterback for a long time, don't go with Aaron Rodgers. He does not have that long left. But I will say that I expect Aaron Rodgers to sign and play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do see them having a championship run for the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. I think Aaron, if his heart is still in the game, he'd be my choice. And he probably has, I would say, about maybe 3-4 years, probably 2-3 years more of good play, and then that last year kind of pulling a Big Ben where you're riding off into the sunset. Yeah. Especially because the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, the relationship is kind of broken right now. It's really damaged. So that'd be my pick. Another name I'll throw out there, especially if the legal side of it gets handled. Deshaun Watson would be a good fit. He's a young player. He's super talented. Of course, he's in that legal trouble. But if that gets washed and thrown to the side and out, he would be a good fit.
Oh, absolutely.
A good fit for Pittsburgh. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, there was a reporter that came out saying that Aaron Rodgers is like a jerk and he's not going to vote for him for MVP, yada, yada, yada. We're going to bring up Aaron Rodgers' rebuttal to those comments before we go further. So here is that clip.
I don't think a bad guy can be the MVP at the same time.
I think he's a bum. I think he's an absolute bum. You didn't know me. I don't know who he is. No one knew who he was probably until yesterday's comments. But I mean, and I listened to the comments, but to say he had his mind made up in the summertime, in the off season, that I had zero chance of winning MVP, in my opinion, should exclude future votes. His problem isn't with me being a bad guy or the biggest jerk in the league, because he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know anything about me. I mean, I've never met him. I've never had lunch with him. I've never had an interview with him. His problem is I'm not vaccinated. So if he wants to go on a crusade and collude and come up with an extra letter to put on the award just for this season and make it the most valuable vaccinated player, then he should do that. But he's a bum.
So that was Aaron Rodgers saying that he's a bum and that the only reason why that guy does not like him is because he's not vaccinated, of course. There's big controversy amongst NFL and just the world in general about the COVID-19 vaccine. We're not going to get into that. He said he should just, if he wants a specific award, he can have the most valuable vaccinated player if that's really what he really wants. But he's just trying to hold that against me. Do you think this voter should still be allowed to vote, knowing this bias?
No, not at all. I've always hated the fact that the media are the ones that vote for the MVP. This is most valuable player, which means the person who brought their team the most value, i.e., if they were taken from that team would be nothing, or that team would be in shambles. Yeah. That's what this vote is for. It's starting to become a who's more popular, who do I like more. Yeah. That's not what this is about. Okay. And the fact that you were dumb enough to open up and say it out loud like that just shows that you shouldn't be able to vote for anything at all, ever. If you're voting it based off of your feelings, that's ridiculous. This is about stats. This is about how well they played for a team and what they bring to that team. That's the bottom line. You can hate somebody all you want, but if they are the most valuable player, you vote for them. That's the bottom line. And now we're seeing this bias of somebody who has an open mouth. Who knows how much more bias is behind closed doors now? Yeah. It's ridiculous. I definitely don't think he should be able to vote. The voting should be changed up to something else, because now it's just getting ridiculous now that we know this. They could
do it like the Pro Bowl, how the Pro Bowl has media votes, but then they also have fan votes that get factored in. And then that kind of lets the fans kind of pick, because I know, not sidetracking here, because we're talking about the MVP in particular. While Aaron Rodgers, I don't think should win the MVP. He's very talented and he's had a fantastic year. I think Jonathan Taylor or Cooper Kupp are probably meant more to their team than Aaron Rodgers. Granted, the MVP has always been a quarterback award. Unfortunately, if you play any other position, you could, rush for 2,000 yards, receive for 2,000 yards, or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're not a quarterback, they just don't care. Those are my personal picks. But for Aaron Rodgers to already know that there's that in the voting, and they get a nice bonus if you win MVP. So the fact that money's on the line, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me to be like, I don't like this guy personally. He's had a great year, but I don't like this guy personally, so I'm not going to vote for him. And to me, you don't no one goes into the league wanting to be liked, right?
Yeah.
They want to put up stats and they want to win. So if they're winning and putting up stats, that should be what's calculated, not if you like them or not. I mean, that's
agreed. It's not a popularity contest.
Yeah, it's not.
Who's the most valuable team member of a team. No. That's it. It's literally the name. Yeah. Most valuable player, not most popular player. It's not the MPP. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
With that being said, we'll move on to our last situation here before we go in 32 to 32. Or 32 and 2. Antonio Brown kind of had a spat this week with Bruce Arians. He left the field early and took off his shoulder pads. Mike Evans was seen trying to calm him down, as a leader Mike Evans is. He's a great leader of that team. AB was not having it. He took off his jersey, everything like that, threw it into the stands, and then just waited outside for an Uber to pick him up. Bruce Arians says he's no longer a part of the Buccaneers. They have yet to release him. Just give me some of your thoughts about that AB situation. It's been kind of sad in my opinion.
Well, first, I'm sure we've all seen some of the rumors that have been going around about, the Buccaneers holding him back from getting the needed yardage and receptions needed to get a bonus of, I think, upwards of $1 million total for everything, all those incentives.
Yeah.
That was a rumor that was spread. There's been no confirmation from anyone, AB or the Buccaneers, so I'm not going to base anything off of that. But if it is because of that, I think his actions were justified. You're playing with somebody's livelihood. If it wasn't because of that, I seriously hope that Antonio Brown gets some medical help, mental evaluations. I hope people don't continue to make jokes. I know we've all thrown a couple jabs at him, but in all seriousness, it's a serious issue. He could have CTE already. He's had some pretty hard hits, especially with his time in Pittsburgh. So hopefully people take this seriously and take it as a sign of, I need help. It's a pretty big thing to just take off your jersey, your pads and everything and peace out in the end zone. That's a huge help me. He's a tough guy, and tough guys have a hard time saying, I need help. Please help me. Will
He's
somebody
acting out for help? He wants some help.
And I'm hoping Tom Brady is the one to do it, because Tom Brady invited him into his house, had him stay with him a couple of days before the Bucs signed him, really reached out to him, touched him in a way that sounds bad, but got to him that
well, he kisses
in a way
his own
that
kids on the lips, so I know nothing's out the nothing's out the picture.
Yeah. Got to him in a way that other people couldn't, and I just hope he does get some help. And AB, I do feel sorry for you, because you were a generational talent,
Hall of Famer,
Hall of Famer potential. I hope you get the help you need, and eventually, if you can get this stuff under control and get the help you need, hopefully an NFL team comes to pick you up again. But as of right now, I hope all NFL teams steer clear of him as far as picking him up.
Until he gets his. We don't want another Josh Gordon. Now he's on the Chiefs now, but we don't want another Josh Gordon thing where we pick him up. Okay, he's still doing the things we told him not to do. We release him. He goes back to another team, does the same thing over and over again. AB has quite the run-in, obviously, with Pittsburgh. Then with the Raiders, with him having the whole thing with the helmet and then the fake vaccination card. And now this incident, he's kind of had that run-in. To me, everything, like you said, we can't really test for CTE right now, not until you're dead. So if you have it, you don't know until no one knows until you sadly passed away. But I think that Burfict hit, I don't know if you remember that, Vontaze Burfict hit, rocked his world. And I think ever since then, he's been different, right? Because before then, to me, he's always been a slight problem in the locker room. He's always had the ego, but he's never been like over the top with it. And then all of a sudden he had that hit, and his personality completely changed from an outsider's perspective. I don't know him personally, I don't know that locker room. Maybe he was the same guy as he was before the hit. But from an outsider's perspective, something seemed to click, something seemed to change ever since Vontaze Burfict. And that was a dirty hit. Vontaze Burfict is known as a dirty player. That's why he's no longer in the league.
Juju got him back, though.
Yeah, Juju got him back. I do wish you help, Antonio Brown. I wish you well. I took my fair share of jabs, and I apologize when it first happened. But taking a step back and being like, this man's screaming, something's up, and the man's screaming for help. It's like like you said, guys, everyone knows, and women always try to tell us, we're not good about talking about our feelings. We always have to be that tough guy. Society tells us you're not allowed to have mental health issues as a man. You have to suck it up. Be a man, right? That's the motto everyone says. Rub some dirt on it. Be a man. So when emotionally something's going on with us, we just man up, right? We tell ourselves man up. We don't need to talk about our feelings. We need to just bury it. And then sometimes that blows up, and we don't know how to deal with things, unfortunately. And so I really hope, one, that we can end that stigma as far as men's mental health, because men lead the world in suicides. And so I hope that that's not what happens with Antonio Brown, that eventually he rocks to that side. God-fearing, and he also, I hope he doesn't do the opposite of hurting himself, but pulling an Aaron Hernandez and hurting someone else. So I hope that he gets the help that he needs. My personal opinion. I think he needs to be in the NFL? No. I think there's obviously something going out there. He needs to stop taking hits and get some professional help. I think his career in the NFL is done, especially with all these antics. That's my personal opinion on Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I agree with everything.
With that being said, let's go into 32-2. The show's running a little longer, guys, longer than expected. Normally try to keep it to about 45 minutes to an hour. We're running about an hour and 30 right now. So we'll get through this, and then we'll say our farewells. We thank you guys for sticking with us here in this extreme episode. There's just a lot to talk about. All right, so we'll start off with the Saturday game, the first Saturday game, Chiefs versus Broncos. Who you got?
I got the Chiefs. I think they're not the team we thought they were, but the Broncos are, Chiefs.
Yeah. All right, then the next Saturday game is the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Both have clinched, and starters will probably be rest on both sides. Who you got?
I think the Cowboys will still edge it out. I just don't think the Eagles really have the manpower to take on what the Dallas Cowboys are bringing.
Yeah, I would agree there. And then we go on to Sunday. We got the Packers versus the Lions.
Packers.
I would agree there. Unless the Packers rest all their starters.
Even then, Packers.
Yeah. Then we got the Steelers versus the Ravens. This is a big game for the Ravens. If they win, there is a potential they get into the playoffs, depending on the Indy game. Who you got?
As much as I think the Ravens deserve a shot in the playoffs, I'm really wanting this one for Big Ben, so I'm going Steelers.
All right. We hope that Big Ben rides off into the sunset. It's a rivalry game, too. I mean, that's perfect. Yeah. Then we got the Colts versus the Jaguars. Again, I will be at that game. Who you got?
I got the Colts by a mile.
All right. I got the Colts as well. I think they'll get their first win in Jacksonville in over 6 years. That's a long time. But they need it. They win, they're in. Then we got the football team and the Giants, both bad franchises right now. Who you got?
I'll go with the Washington football team.
Okay. So with that, Washington will go to 7-10. Then we got the Bears versus the Vikings.
Vikings.
Okay. I'm going to go Bears there. I think Nick Foles, is starting this upcoming week. So potential. I think it might be Andy Dalton, but Andy Dalton's he's not horrible. He's not great. Then we got the Titans versus the Texans. The Titans win, they clinch. So
I believe the Titans just activated Derrick Henry, so I'm going Titans.
Yeah, they did. And then we'll get A.J. Brown for the playoffs as well, so that's a scary sight for any team facing the Titans.
Yeah, seriously.
Getting healthy at the right time. Then we have the Bengals versus the Browns. Who you got?
I got the Bengals.
All right, I'm going with the Bengals as well with that. Panthers versus the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
Yeah, these are pretty much washed.
Easy
to pick this week.
Yeah.
Saints versus the Falcons. This can go either way.
Saints.
I'm going with
Saints are a really good team. They're a good quarterback away from being a solid team.
Yeah, and I would agree there. I'm gonna go Falcons. I think Falcons finish strong. Kyle Pitts is the only second tight end to finish 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end. The other one being Mike Ditka.
Yeah, he's playing good football for sure.
Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to find the end zone besides one time, but they haven't really.
Julio Jones looks like he actually filled a spot.
Yeah. Then we got the 49ers versus your Rams.
I'm hoping the Rams. If the 49ers win, I believe they're in the playoffs, so I'm going Rams.
San Francisco has won 5 straight games versus the Rams. So
when we break that streak.
A lot of streaks trying to be broken this week. Then we have the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. And Russell Wilson's a potential last game as the Seahawk. I believe the Cardinals will win that.
Cardinals are going to smoke them.
Yeah. Patriots versus Dolphins. Tua is. I think the Dolphins need a new quarterback. Tua is just not it, personally.
I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Patriots.
All right.
Go Mac Daddy Jones.
Mac 10. Then we got the Jets versus the Bills.
Bills.
Yeah. And then we have the last game we talked about where they could end up in a tie if Jacksonville beats Indy. Let's say that Indianapolis wins, the Colts win like we predicted. Who you got, Chargers or Raiders?
I got Raiders.
I think the Chargers take it, and they'll clinch.
It'll be a close game for sure.
I think the Chargers are a better team for the playoffs, built better for the
agreed.
playoffs than the Raiders, personally. But we'd like to thank you guys. Again, we apologize for it being extended, but you get the extended cut of Sideline to Sideline. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm about to...
Bless you.
Thank you. I'm about to sneeze.
Boy, you muted that thing right on time.
Yeah. But make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter. We will link Marcus's Twitter and his Twitch. He's a guest on our show, the football team fan. Make sure you go show him some love because the football team is not. And anything else you got left to say, Taylor, before we end this?
Nah, I've got nothing. Again, apologize for the long episode, but I hope everybody enjoys it. If you got anything you disagree with, please let us know in the comments. We love to debate.
Yes.
And hey, we might bring some special guests onto the show and debate them. You never know. Could be you.
Could be Stephen A. Smith. I'm kidding.
No. I cannot debate with that man. Anyways.
It's blasphemous. All right. I just had to get that in there.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
everyone. And see you next week.
See you next week.